So in the last class, we saw how can we record a test case, web test case using Katalon. Now, in today's class, we'll see how to do data-driven testing using Katalon and API testing and API automation using Katalon. And then after that, we will have Q&A and the grading and ranking announcement and final comments of this batch. So let's start the data-driven testing. The steps for data-driven testing are simple enough. So what we need to do is basically right now, as you can see in the existing test case, we are using a hard-coded data, right? The username and password. So to use the data-driven testing, of course, we have to parameterize this so that we can get it from some external file, CSV file. So what we will do, we will add variables in test case level. Then we will add a new data source. Data source you can add here in data files. Okay, data files. Let me delete that. So when you add a new data source here in data files, then you can use that data source in your test suite level. So once you add your new data source, we have to create a new suite and then map this data source in the data source in the suite itself. And after that, we have to map the fields in CSV like username, password with the variables. And then finally, we have to run the data-driven test using test suite. So let's do this one by one. First of all, as I said, we need to have variables, right? So let's create two variables. So you can open this test case, login, logout, go to the variable section. As you can see here, there are two items here, manual and script. Okay, so as I said, 95% of the task you would be able to do without coding in the manual section. But in case sometimes you need to save something in variables or you need to print something, then you can use script mode. Okay, but most of the time we will not use it because, as I said, Katalon is kind of a record and playback tool. We don't want to use script mode unless there is no other way. So in the variable section, let's add two variables, username and password. So I can say user and password, user and pass, let's say. So now I will map these user and pass with the CSV file data also. Okay. Type 2, if you have added the username and password, user and pass two variables, make sure the name is same. Okay, user and pass. Type 2 if you are ready for next step. Yeah, very simple. Like it would be very fast and easy. Now, since we have done that, we have to change that constant data or the hard-coded data to the variable which we have declared. So just right click on these two values. So first one is this. And then in this case, in the value section, replace this with something else. So remove this and then say, I don't want to use the external value. I want to use value called user. Okay, value called user. But you may notice that what is the value type. So here you have to select variable and variable name user. So instead of string, select value type as variable and value as user. Similarly, for password, change that set text, encrypted text to set text because we will be sending the password in a non-encrypted format. And then here again, change that to variable and change this to pass. I will show you that again. Okay. And you can make sure whenever you do something, save all, you click on save all. Okay. I'm doing that again now. First of all, you need to add two variable user and pass. Then you need to go to the menu section again and replace this set text username password with variable user here. Similarly, replace set encrypted text to set text and change password to variable pass. That's it. So setup at variable or test case level is done. Type 3 if you are ready for next step now. Okay, so first part is done. Now we need to add a file, and then under that file we need to add a data. Okay, so let's create a file and make it like username, or we can say email, password. Okay, so first is correct, demo, full stack demo, and then the other two are incorrect. Other one is incorrect. I don't, because this is a UI test, I don't want to run it again and again. And let's save this as a CSV file, users.csv, and let's save this in Katalon Studio. I will give you this file. Wait, okay. What's happening? Okay, let me give you this file. So you can download and save it somewhere, and then we will try to associate it with in the data file section. Now, once the file is downloaded, let's add this file in the data file section. So you can click and say new and say test data. You can name it anything. Here you have to select CSV file, new test data, CSV file. That's it. Now, when you see this, this is where you need to browse the file which we added recently. Okay, make sure that you see the correct data. So your email password is here, username 1 is this, username 2 is this. So this is your test run 1, this is your test run 2. Okay, make sure this is also selected, and now you can save all this. Separator is comma, and let me know when you are ready for next step. Type 4 when you are ready. What I did is I added a CSV file, right? Then I added that in a data file section by creating a new test data, and then I browse that file here. Now the file is associated in my Katalon project. Okay, so now the next part is we have to use that in a test suite. So for that, let's create a test suite. Where is the test suite? So here you can say new test suite, and you can name it data driven. Okay, and now in the data driven test suite section, you would see this particular thing. This is called show data binding. This is where we have to associate our test data file, which is which is present in data file section in the test suite level. So click on this show data binding, right? And now you would notice here a test data section is added. So let's first add our test case. When you add your test case, you can see the data binding is present now. Your variables are available now, which you added in test case level. We have to map this to a test data file, which is present in new test data, right? So here, sorry, in test data, we would say new test data. And once that is done, make sure you save it at every step. Now I will map it to my value. Okay. So this is a data column. Test data, I would select this particular thing, and the value I would select the email address. Okay. So I mapped user variable with the email address in the CSV data file. Similarly, for password, again data column, then test data, the test data which we need to select, and then I will map it with the password. That's it. Make sure everything is saved at every step. So I created a suite in the section of show data binding. I added the test data file which we added in the data file section. After that, I binded my username and password variables with the data file variables called email and password, which you can see here. So now everything is almost ready. We just have to execute it. Type 5 if you have completed this step. Can you show your screen, Ulfa? Whenever you miss some particular step or you missed saving something, then you may face this kind of issue. Save is required at every step because automatic save is not there in Katalon. Okay. Let me know, guys, if you're ready for next step. Type 5 if you're ready. Okay, so the next step is very simple. You just have to run the suit. That's it. Right click and run. So what will happen in this case? One of the tests will fail, another one will pass. The same test will run twice. So run on Chrome. So as you can see here, it is running 0 out of 2, means there are 2 test cases to run. Earlier, because we were running one test case under login suite, it was running only once. But this is a data driven, that's why it is running twice. So one is passed, now second will fail actually because element not found. A login is incorrect. I think we have increased the timeout period to 60 seconds in the last class. That's why it is taking long time. Wait, 60 seconds is not enough. How much time we have supplied? I don't know. Yeah, but error would be the same. Okay, everyone can see the same result. Type 8 guys if you can see the same result. How much time do we have set up? Right now it's running, so it will not work. Let me close that data. This would be the result. So one pass, one fail. And let me reduce the time. I think it's still running the last step. You can have as many. Yeah, so I was saying you can have as many data fields in this data file. It does not matter because after that it could be one to one, it could be one to many. After that you have to map here in the Katalon Studio test data section. Let me reduce the time, okay? Because I think it's taking so much time. 2 minutes is very long time. So let's decrease that to 20 seconds. Test data Aka I gave you. I'm giving you again. So in the report section, you can see the report of all the test case executions. So as we can see, for data driven, you can say open containing folder, reports, today's date, open containing folders. And this is where you find the video and the report, like test result kind of a report. This one passed, this one failed, with the detail about the step-by-step execution. Okay, video, try to open video with the VLC player. Did you guys use the credential differently? No, one should fail. Oh yeah, self-healing feature is there in Katalon, but focus on, like, results could be different if element is auto located, but focus on the run count. Run count should be 2. In data driven testing, run count matters. Everyone can see run count 2 out of 2. Please let me know, only then I can move towards the next step. Okay, yeah, so this is about data driven test. I think it's clear now how to do data driven and how to record web test, how to see report, and how to see, yeah, test by step by step detail about test case. You can also see these kind of details inside Katalon Studio itself. Okay, so let's say you want to see the detail about this test case. You can see the detail about this test case also. Where is, I think somewhere you would see the result section. View execution history. Not this. Where is the last result? Yeah, result. Test date. Click on test suite and then you can see result. And now here for particular test case, in the result section, you can say source test case details. And here you can see step-by-step execution. Okay. If in case of failure, image will also appear if there is an image. Like take screenshot in case of failure we did in Java. Yeah, this was about like web automation. Like similarly, you can do the API automation also. So for that, let's create an API project. You can say file new project, and name it API June 2021. And instead of web, select API and leave everything else is blank. API June 2021 file, new project, API June 2021, select API and say OK. Everyone ready now? Type 11. If you're ready for next step for APIs, we will do the same API action, login and hitting the dashboard API. So I want to show you how you can do single API test manually, and then automation wise how to extract something from login API like token and then use it in dashboard API. So the steps are something like that. We will be declaring the global variables in profile. Global variables like base URL, just like for rest assured we have done that. Base URL, username, password, token, all these will be our global variables. Now after that we will be adding our APIs in object repo, just like we do it for UI elements. So we will have two API, login and dashboard API. We will add details here in object repo. Then we will transfer our global variable to local variables. Like we have all those four variables in the global section. Whenever we are working on something in local variables, we have to transfer that from global to local variables in Katalon Studio. Once we have done that, then we will be adding a test case and sending the request, API request, just like we do it in Postman. Similarly, after that, automation wise, we will be verifying that status code, response JSON paths like email address is correct, and extracting token, etc. with built-in Katalon Studio keywords. We will be transferring our token from login to dashboard using global variables. And then finally, we will be running end-to-end suite login plus dashboard API. Okay. So as I told you that I will be telling you about profiles in the API suite. So profile help us to create different data set. As you noticed in Java project, we created two test data file, one for production, one for staging. That same thing you can do here also. So let's create, let's say, new profile for staging. Okay. Now, when you want to run something on staging profile, you can just select it, say staging here. Okay. New profile staging and then select staging here in profile. And here you can add your global variable. So one of them would be base URL, right? Then email address, then password, and then token. These are the four variables we need to test our login and dashboard API. Base URL, email address, password, token. Let me find out the login API. Yeah, so this is a login API. So the base URL is this, right? For staging. So you can set the value as this. Make sure there are no spaces, okay? Be very careful. Giving you in chat. Set the base URL as this. Make sure there are no spaces at the start or at the end. Now email address, also make sure that you have same variables name like me. If you make any mistake, it may not work. This is your base URL. Now email address, let's have it this. Again, make sure no spaces and no extra values. Password is builder123. Token, we can leave it as it is, and or we can say default value is token not found, because later on we will be changing that during the runtime execution. So if it is token not found, then it means the token transfer from login to dashboard did not work. Otherwise, it should not throw any error. Okay, the variable name are email already given, pass and token. So our profile and global variable is ready. But make sure that you select this stage. from the profile section. Otherwise it will not work. Type 12 if you are ready for next step. Okay, so this step is done. Now our second step is adding our test case detail at object repository. So here you can say new and web service request. New web service request. The first one would be login. Okay, and select the RESTful because we are working with REST API. If you're working with SOAP API, then you can select SOAP. RESTful. Okay, and then the URL, not the base URL. You need to select something different here. The URL of this one. Okay, let's select the whole thing, but then later on we will change the base URL to something different. We'll use the parameterized variable just like in JMeter we have used dollar base URL. Similar thing we will use here. Okay, so login API names. API name is login. Request type RESTful. URL is this. Description you can leave empty and click OK. So we have added object repository, and here you can actually test your API manually. Let me show you the manual execution. So this API is a post request, right? So you can select the post request. Everything just like Postman is available here. Authorization, HTTP header, body, etc. etc. We need body here, right? And we need body. You can click on body, and we need it in raw format. So text and JSON. And for manual testing, just test as it is. Then later on we will change it to the variable format. Okay, so now when you test like this, after saving it, make sure everything is saved. You would notice the response and the status code, right? So you can, that's how you can do manual testing of API in Katalon Studio, just like Postman. So enter your resource here, resource URL here, select the method type. If you have parameters, select the parameters. Then in the HTTP body and header, fill out the details. Select text if you are working with JSON or text or anything. Then select JSON if because it is a JSON API, JSON based API. I have select JSON. Then I am able to test my APIs. Okay, if I make any mistake, it will also show the failure all details, but make sure you save everything before running it. Okay, same error just like Postman. Save again and run again, it will work now. Type 13 if you can see the same result just like Postman. 200, everything is there. Type 13 if you're ready for next step. Now next step would be, I would be changing those variables, hard-coded variables, to the variable format. Katalon Studio variable format. Okay, so how can we do that? So we have to transfer our global variable to the local variable. So global variables are present in profile. We need to transfer this to the object repository. So for that we have a variable section here. So add again, you need what you need base URL to replace this. You need HTTP in body. You need email to replace this and password to replace this. So 3 variables you need. So let me create first variable and I will say, let's say base URL local. You have to save at every step. Okay, whenever you add something, save first. And then I would change this to use my global value. Okay, and which value? Base URL. Okay, so I have said base URL, transfer base URL from the global to this variable base URL local, so that I can use this inside this local object repository API URL, API resource, and save it. Base URL, global variable, select the base URL one. Similarly, email local, same thing, global variable, email, and save. Similarly, pass local, global variable, pass. So I'm using all those values which are present on global variable and save. Yeah. For login API, I only need these three. For dashboard API, I would be needing the fourth one, which is token. Okay. Type 14 if you are ready for the next step after adding all these values. Okay, so now we can replace variables here in base in the base URL and in the body. So instead of this, I would say use dollar my local variable, which is base URL local. So my overall API URL becomes this. Just like JMeter, we have dollar variable name and curly braces open, curly braces close. Save again. Similarly, in the HTML HTTP body, I would be replacing this again. Dollar email local. Similarly, dollar pass local and save. So even though I have changed and parameterized this should produce the same result. Let's see if it works as like before. If it does not work as like before, it means we have made some mistake. Yeah, so I think something is wrong. It says email is not registered, means email is not getting set. So sometimes like because it's already string, maybe this is not needed. Email local. Let me verify that the values are correct. Yeah, I think I made a mistake here. I have email local, but there I have extra L. So let me add extra L. You can also correct this. Again, save everything at every step. And HTML body, I think this part is correct. Email local, email local. Save and run again. Yeah, working now. But just make sure that the variable names are same in both the section. Type 15 if it is working for you as well. What about others? Akka, Chavin, Dhyan, cool. Yeah, so login API, everything is done about the login API. Next thing we need for dashboard API. Yeah, so we can copy paste this, right, rather than creating a new thing. So you can just say copy and paste. Okay, and then rename it, right click and rename it to dashboard. Okay, copy paste, rename it to dashboard. Now we can change certain things. This is a get API, so we need to change that. Also, since this is a get API, the URL is different. It is like build card something. So let me see what is the URL. Yeah, this is the URL actually. So we need to change that. Instead of sign in API, we need to use dashboard API. So your overall URL becomes this for dashboard. Again, save at every step. As you can see, it automatically added the query parameter status equal to completed. We already have header, we have already have variables. We need extra variable here because in header we need auth token, right? If you notice here, there is an extra header here auth token. So let's add that. But before that, we need it on a variable level. So add a new variable and name it token local, say global variable, and transfer that token value. So the current value is basically token not found, right? Which is actually present at the profile level. But we will change that and extract and change that in test case level. But right now, this is the dashboard API. So once the setup is done, token local setup is done on variable level, you need to do that at HTTP header level. So need to add one more header called out token and say the value is actually dollar token local. Make sure the data is again safe. Data is same here, token local, and here token local. This API will fail because extracting token and putting it in the value is a dynamic process, right? So when you run this, it will say that user is not authorized or user is not registered. But we will handle that in an end-to-end scenario, right? You need to sign in, sign up. Okay, type 16 if you're ready for next step, and things are configured as variable level and HTTP header level. The value of HTTP header is hot token. This is the key, and the value is dollar curly braces in out local token local. Ready for next step, guys? Type 16. If you have any issue, any error, let me know. Okay, so now the we need to add test cases where we will add and use this particular test case and add verification, etc. So let's add the first one, test case, test login API, test login API, add new test case, name it test login API, save it. And now you need to use web service keyword, add web service keyword. Okay, and then send request, right? And now here in object you need to select your object. So in this case we will be selecting login, right? So object is selected. Now once we receive a response, let's save the response here. So we can say response, login response, login response. We need to save it so that we can apply, just like in rest assured, right? We were saving the response and then we were extracting status code, response header, response body. This is the same thing we can do here because it is also made on top of Groovy. Okay, so JMeter and rest assured, right? In JMeter we were using JSON swapper. Same library is used here. So we will save the response in a login response output, and then based on that we will perform action like verify status code, extract email address, and verify that it is equal to the email address we provided at the global variable level. So once that is done, again save it, and now we will be adding one more web service keyword, and this is will be related to verify. So verify status code, right? Verify response code, verify response status code. And now here we would be saying the value is variable and the value is response, login response. Okay, response object, variable, login response, and the expected status code should be 200. Response object, login response, expected code should be 200. And ready, guys? Input is this. See, response object, variable, login response. You need to type this. That's why I gave you. Okay. Everything will be present in script level. You can see that what is login response. It is sending a request with the login object, base URL, email local, email password, right? And then checking with the status code of login response is 200. Okay, everyone done? Type 17 if you're ready for next step. So let's actually test whether, oh sorry, now the next step is where validation on response is done. Next step is extracting token and setting the token value on the global variable level, right? So for that, again, add a web service keyword. And here you would notice there are some keywords like get element property value. This we will use to extract the value of token. So you can select this. Now again we have to select and attach the variable type to variable, and value is login response. I already gave you this keyword. Okay, if you don't have it, again I will give you login response, and this is where you need to give the JSON path. which we were giving it in the rest assured and JMeter. So locator, string, everything is string, and the value is user dot auth token, right? User dot auth token. Okay. You can also give value. Save everything. Input, response, login response, locator, user dot auth token. Then guys, type it in if you're ready for next step. Now this is the 5% task which where you need coding. You got the value right using get element property value, but you need to set this token value at the global variable level. So for that thing, you need a script section. So what I will do, like I will save this in a variable, local variable. Again, Groovy is just like Java. That's why I gave you some part of Groovy introduction in the JMeter section. So I would say status token, sorry, string token. I'm saving the value which we get from this particular login response, and then I'm saying global variable dot token equal to, or I can save it as a local token so that it is clear, equal to, or you can say test case token equal to. So I'm saving it in a test case token, and then I'm saying that global variable dot token is this. So I only made change in 2 lines, this and this. So I'm giving you these 2 lines. So once I extracted the token, I am setting the token global token value from local to the global level. Okay. This is just a copy paste. Type 19 if you are ready for next step. Just copy paste this after line 21 and then type 19 if you're ready for next step. So copy the chat item, then pay and replace the chat item present. And so let's say I copied the chat item, right? And then I selected lines after 21 and then copy pasted it. Okay, that's it. So now what we are doing, we are testing the login API, extracting the token test case to extracting the user auth token, saving in a test case token value variable, and then setting the global variable token value to the test case token value. And now the final step, which is save everything again, which is adding the second API, new test case test dashboard. Similarly here, send request, right? And object dashboard this case in this time, and output, let's say dashboard. So this is the name of test case, output dashboard response. Okay, and save again. Now let's verify the status code. In here I would say variable, then the value as dashboard response, status code should be 200. That's it. Save everything. Nothing new here, just like repeating the login things. If you notice in script mode, it is also using token. That token will come from global variable which we set on login API. So when you run end to end, this will work. This will not work individually, but when you run end to end, it will work. Okay, I think we are almost ready to run our test suite, end to end test suite. And if you face any issue, we will see. Type 20 if you are ready to run the test suite. Input, yeah, this is just a copy paste. I don't know why you want again and again. You can, whatever you are typing in the output section, you need it in an input section in the next step. Okay, Chevin? Clear? Ready, guys? Step 20. If you have any issue, please let me know. Chevin, ready? Chevin, Riaz, Liza, sorry, Jeremy, Diane. Okay, Akka left. Akka, what about you? Cool. So let's add a test suite now to run this. So let's add a test suite. You can name it as it is, like a new test suite, and add test case in that. We need both the test case. Okay. Now we need to like do one thing here, because if you don't, we need a sequence here. We need to run login first, because we need to extract token from login and set it at a global level. So make sure the sequence is correct. If it is not correct, it will fail. So what you will do, you will select this and then click on move up if your sequence is not correct. Okay, now it is correct. Login API, then dashboard API. Again, save this, add new test suite, then attach test cases, then correct the sequence, login API and dashboard API. Okay, and now you can run it. Just select the test suite. Okay, and in the test suite, once you have selected the test suite, this time you would be running as a web service, not Chrome, web service. So when you run it, hopefully everything works fine and it will be 2 pass in 0 failure. But if you have made any mistake somewhere, it will throw an error. Okay, test suite run web service. What happened? Are you guys also facing the same issue? I think something is wrong somewhere. Clear everything. Let's try again. Okay, it is saying null pointer somewhere. Let's see. Okay, we are running a login API first, right? Let's verify everything one by one. Send request, login API, right? The name is correct, right? Login. The login response, we are saving it at login response. Then verify status code response is 200. Oh, wait. Verify status code response is 200. Get element value response. This is correct. Dashboard object this response. Mostly is correct. Do we have something in staging which is null? No. Mostly it is correct. Yeah. Okay. So let me figure out this problem where something is null somewhere. And also let me take a water break. Let's come back at 8:30, right? 8:30 p.m. Okay, guys. I did not did any changes. The launcher, which you see something like when you launcher appears something like this, right? This was not coming up. This sometime happens. Okay, when you're working on a like something regularly, and the project becomes slightly bigger. So in those cases, what I used to do, this happened in the previous classes also. If everything was fine and it is not working, the launcher is not coming, this launcher, then what you can do, you can just close out the project or close out this particular Katalon studio and launch it again, and then try to run it. Make sure before closing out, you are saving everything. And after that, it should work. Like my last suit did work. And now this one is also working. See, 2 out of 2, everything is passing. Are you guys facing issue? Like it could be working for some people also. It is not like it is an issue for everyone. But sometimes when you work on a long project regularly and switch between projects, the launcher does not come up, and then maybe you have to restart Katalon after saving everything, and then it starts working. So as you can see, everything is working fine. Can you confirm? Are you also seeing the same result? Type 1 if you're seeing the same result. In the meantime, I want to show you something that in report, the debugging is different, okay, compared to web report. So in the report of test suite, like this one, API suite, you can say open containing folder, because you would not see image or video here, but this time you would see request folder. In request folder, you would find the HAR file. This is your HAR file, sorry, related to your request. Okay. And when you open the execution log, again, the steps are same, but it is copied actually from your manual test scripts tab. Okay, so if you open this HAR file by right clicking in it, sorry, not this, oh, not this. Where is HAR file? Request, under request. So let's say we open the HAR file 0, which is a login request, and we open it in a notepad file. So this is where you would see the log, like this was the method, this was the URL, this was the payload, everything is present here. And after that, that was the response. So that contains the information about the API. So in case in future, you would see something is not working and you want to debug it, you should see this particular log under request main, then the API request HAR file, 0 for login and 1 for dashboard in this case. But if you have more than two test case, you can just follow the count n-1. Okay, that's how you can debug your API test. UI test is easy because that is that has radio and the image. But in API, you have to open up this HAR file in a notepad file and then see what was the logs. Okay, yeah, that's it. So with that, Katalon Studio also finish it up. Katalon Studio is also done, and with that the batch finishes.